6 learning spaces. These are our 6 learning spaces. Personal learning space, the classroom and the school, beyond the classroom, collaborative and cooperative group work, the liminal space and the E-space. The personal learning space, this is a space where we can reflect on our learning and we can set ourselves goals. Quite often the personal learning space is set out similar to a mind map, as you'll also see in the next. This particular model, which is a model that we can use ourselves, allows us to see clear focus or focus areas, and there are ideas for us on how we're going to get there. Strengths of this space for teachers is that it gives us an ability to pique our students' interest and to further develop our own education, so we can look at what we already know and things that we need to know further. Some of the challenges, though, are not knowing where or how to start a personal learning space. That's why sometimes it's best to start with a simple mind map. For our students, some strengths are that they will be able to identify their own needs. So it's really important for them to know what they need to learn. However, a challenge can be that quite often they may not be old enough to recognise their own limitations or to even understand that there is learning that they're lacking. The liminal space. I've put this space after the personal learning space as they both almost go hand in hand. The liminal space is the space between point A and point B. It is a transformational space between knowing what we already know and getting to know what we need to know. The liminal space is not always able to be seen, as it's a personal space where a learner leaps into the unknown. Strengths and challenges. The strengths of the liminal space for us as teachers is that knowledge of this space means we can identify when we are in a liminal space, either personally or professionally. However, some challenges are having the courage to venture into our own liminal space and understanding what we need to take from that space. For students, strengths are being able to overcome the partial understanding stage. So students know that they don't know something or they only know a bit of it and being able to overcome that. However, challenges are that sometimes the transformation may be sudden or dragged out, and because sometimes it's difficult, students won't know how to cope with getting this new knowledge. And that the liminal space is a state of mind rather than a physical state, and that may be a difficult idea for students to understand. The classroom and the school. We work in a classroom, so I don't think there's much need for me to go on about what a classroom looks like, but feel free to have a read in your own time. Strengths and challenges of the classroom. So the 4 walls of a classroom actually allow for us as teachers to design a room with meaning, to create meaning in our classroom that we know students will be able to learn from. However, sometimes there are challenges to those 4 walls, and it can also be that we don't want to create a space that is overstimulating and distracting. And also in open learning spaces, we want to make sure that we're working with a colleague that has the same vision of the learning environment that we do. For our students, learning to work as part of a cooperative team in an open learning environment is a really great strength to have when it comes to the classroom. However, challenges can be that students with learning difficulties or disabilities, it may not be the right learning environment for them, so we need to ensure that we're catering to their learning needs as well. Beyond the classroom is our next learning space. This is the incursions and excursions. So as teachers, we know that the learning that happens for our students, it doesn't just occur at school. Children learn from their whole environment. As Vygotsky says, that's one of his main ideas, is that children learn through their social interactions. And beyond the classroom is part of these social interactions. Strength to beyond the classroom is that it's a way to engage students who may otherwise be easily distracted in a classroom environment. However, we need to make sure that when we are on excursions and incursions, our behaviour management is really on par. And we also want to make sure that our excursions or incursions aren't too expensive. We want all students to be able to attend. For our students, they're given an opportunity to experience things that they might not normally be able to experience either in the classroom or in their personal lives. However, some of the challenges can be that often incursions and excursions can just seem like a day of fun to students. So we as teachers need to make sure that they get the most that they can from that day and that they see the value of attending. Collaborative and cooperative group work, what does it look like? So this is the group work that we are already doing with our students. However, for some, it may just be more structured. It's a way of ensuring that students learn what it is to work as a team and to be accountable for their efforts and their actions. As Vygotsky says, children work and learn through their social interactions, and that's why group work is so important. Strengths and challenges. For us as teachers, a strength is that it allows us to assess student learning and problem-solving abilities in different ways. It gives us a different way to assess how our students are working. However, a challenge is that we need to make sure that our assessment techniques that we are using are fair for all. So if we have groups with students who are of a lower ability than the others in the group, we need to make sure that we're being fair to those students as well. Group work allows for student scaffolding. So like I said with Vygotsky, learning through those social interactions, learning from their peers. Challenges though are that working as part of group may not be as easy for some students as it is for others, and we need to make sure that we also help those students to work as part of a team and to get as much as they can out of that. This is a very easy thing to incorporate into any learning activity in any classroom. The E-space is our final space. So this space involves the use of all technologies, iPads, tablets, laptops, computers, whiteboards, all of our different technologies is what is involved within the E-space. So it's all of the online learning. It involves the use of social media outlets such as Twitter and other online learning like our web chats or video conferencing. Challenges and strengths for teachers. Some of the strengths are that it's a way that teachers can set more complex and real-world tasks. We can have our students researching things that actually matter and finding out things that will help them form their own views and opinions. Some challenges, though, are we need to know how to use the technology that we're asking our students to use. Students can't learn from someone who doesn't know how to use what they're asking their students to use. Strengths of the E-space are that students become technologically literate. They learn to use these tools that they will use further in their education and in the workplace. Challenges are, though, that they may be learning from teachers who don't know how to use the technology themselves, so it's really important that we figure out how to use it. Here are some important resources for us as teachers to ensure that we're able to teach to the best of our ability. And here are some online groups for us as educators. All of these can be accessed via Google or Facebook.